So thank you so much. We are now moving to our next session. In this session, we are going to then have our presenters, and I'm going to ask them to come to the stage, and I will then be introducing them as they are about to speak. We have in our midst from UNICEF, Ms. Hannah Yoshimoto, that is going to give us a global perspective. Please come in. Ms. Hannah Yoshimoto, she's currently the Chief of Education at UNICEF South Africa, overseeing programs especially related to early childhood development, early childhood care and education, quality and system enhancement, and adolescent skills development. She's a former Regional Chief of Education at UNESCO, Regional Bureau of Education in the Arab States as a secondment from UNICEF. And she was based in Lebanon for that task. One of the key roles that she was responsible for was to lead the monitoring and reporting of the Sustainable Development Goals, specifically goal number 4, Education 2030 Agenda in the Arab region. Her team delivered regional programs as well as programs directly in Yemen, Syria, and Lebanon. During her term, she co-authored the Arab Regional Learning Loss Report, which is the COVID-19 learning losses, rebuilding quality learning for all in the Middle East and North Africa, together with the World Bank and UNICEF. Before UNESCO, she served as the Chief Education at UNICEF Egypt, providing technical advisory to the Ministry of Education for the national education reform. During her term in Egypt, she triggered cross-ministerial ECD initiatives among education, health, and social development. Prior to this, she served as Chief Education Specialist at UNICEF Somalia and as an education analyst at the World Bank headquarters, where she focused on research that quantifies the quality of education systems globally. Before entering the international development industry, Hannah worked as a senior analyst for an American multinational investment called Goldman Sachs. She holds a BA in Political Science from Sophia University in Tokyo, a Master of Arts in International Education from the American University in Washington, D.C., and MBA from London School of Economics and Political Science, and an HEC in Paris and New York University through Trium Global Executive MBA program. Hannah, let's welcome her, as she is now coming to make a presentation, and I'm going to ask her that once you present, you remain on the stage. Yes.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Program Director. I am doomed to needing to present right after that intriguing performance, but I'll do my best. So I would like to share some information on the global trend of early childhood care and education. Actually, this is not my presentation, sorry for that. There we go. With UNICEF. Okay, let's see. Perfect, all right. Okay. So just as a quick, so I'm going to just talk a little bit more about the evidence with data, the situation of the global early childhood care and education and ECD, and some strategies to strengthen the ECCE. Okay. So the first priority, the reason why ECCE is a global priority is the fact that quality ECCE sets a strong foundation for learning. During this young, early children's age group, they are exposed to emergent literacy. Emergent literacies are those experiences and behaviors that they learn about the literacy before they actually start learning literacy, reading and writing formally. And this includes, for example, language comprehension, phonological awareness, print awareness, etc. And if you remember that knowledge and skills development is an incremental process, you start with emergent literacy, then the foundational literacy numeracy, and then all the higher order learning comes after. So not unless you have that solid foundation, no matter how much you try later in your life and at school, it's not going to be as strong. Also, ECC makes education system more effective and efficient. You can easily imagine those in schools, grade 1. If the learners doesn't have any strong school readiness, some children can sit on their chair quietly, some cannot. Some may understand the numbers 1 to 10, some may not. Imagine grade 1 teacher needing to entertain them and teach them that has variety of capacity as grade 1 learner. That's why the initial school readiness that they can nurture, the learners can nurture during ECCE phase is so important. And it needs to be effective. If the teachers are so tied up, just needing to manage the learners, they're not learning from grade 1. Right from the beginning, the learning is not happening. Then the whole delay of the learning continues until later in the grade. Thirdly, equitable education, early childhood care and education is a strategy for promoting inclusive economic growth and also for female participation in the labor market. It's not just about the academic and cognitive development, it's about the whole social skills, the life skills, the so-called 21st century core competencies. They start from the early childhood care and education age group. You cannot just all of a sudden, when the child is 15 years old, you start saying, oh, you need to be inclusive, you need to respect others, respect the differences among others. No, it doesn't happen that way. All those core skills start from young age at home when they were born. Economic exposure for the mothers who tend to leave labor market because they need to stay at home. Okay, just a little bit more on the purposes and the priorities. We learn from science and research that massive surge of neurons and synapse formation occur during this age group. Millions of neurological connections are formed per second, which is a pace never repeated ever in your life. Timing is critical, period. Especially because by age 5, 90% of your brain is already formed with all these neurons. Of course, it doesn't mean that the genetics provide the blueprint, but it doesn't mean that the environment doesn't affect. The environment experiences shape how the blueprint will be built. The positive early experiences and interventions, I think we all here have met, or maybe you yourself, I'm definitely one of them, constantly suffer from self-confidence issues. No matter what I do, I'm still a little bit uncertain about myself. I think it's also going back to how I was raised. I was born and raised in Japan, very strict parents who never really praised me. It's still haunting me. We have to have a positive discipline and positive early experiences. This is just the dissection of some of the key skills based on cognitive, language and literacy, physical, motor, socio-emotional approaches of learning, as well as creativity. But the key message here is that the social, cognitive and emotional, the core core skills that the DBE is really trying to mainstream and implement within the national curriculum starts at this age group. At the global level, as we all know, we are all aiming for the SDG 4 on education, but more specifically on 4.2 that talks about the equitable and quality early childhood development, care, and pre-primary education. When you look at the global picture, this is how the countries are doing on the SDG 4.2.2. South Africa is orange, which means there's significant challenges remain when it comes to having at least 1 year of pre-primary. But I think the government really has been pushing. It was also emphasized during the Lehotla this year and the year before, how the grade R is really pushed to be mandatory. I think as a country, we all want to have a collective effort to move ourselves to the yellow age group, range, especially because we only have 5 more years until the year 2030. Equity dimensions, I think it's quite relevant, especially for the South Africa context, where richest children are 7 times more likely to attend ECCE. Mothers that are educated, that has a degree more than secondary education, tend to have 5 times more likelihood in sending their children to ECCE. Residents, in terms of the poor rural, children living in urban areas are 2.5 times more likely to attend ECE. And in terms of the attendance, participation to ECCE, there's no gender differences. This is very much related to countries that are facing emergencies, conflict, and crisis. Teacher shortages, same as South Africa, globally, and especially in the African continent, the teacher shortages really is a grave issue. Knowing that, especially in South Africa, also half the current teachers will retire by the 2030. But the goals for ECCE cannot be met without the personnel to teach and administer and supervise programs. Globally, there's a shortage, knowing that there are attrition and also the new posts created. All in all, at least we need 6 million teachers, ECD practitioners, to universalize the 1 year pre-primary ahead of the primary enrollment by 2030. The poor conditions of the work, too much tasks, too much chores, the low salary, the deployment issues, the gender disparities, inadequate finances, all these are global trend, which I think also reflects here in South Africa and Mpumalanga. These are just additional information about the teachers, but you can see that when you look at different regions in the world, the lowest percentage of teachers that have the minimum qualification, unfortunately, is in sub-Saharan Africa. In terms of the income groups, clearly, high income and low middle income has a higher minimum licensing of the ECD practitioners, but just keep in mind that South Africa, because of the huge inequity, the country is categorized as upper middle income country. If you look at upper middle income country, almost 90% of the teachers should have minimum requirement. But the fact is, South Africa is still on its way to achieve this. Only half, approximately half, have the minimum requirement. This, again, just in terms of how many, the percentage of the teachers having minimum requirement, all are actually negative except for sub-Saharan Africa region. The 4 strategies, this seems like a repeated message, but if you look at how to strengthen the workforce, there's just no way around avoiding these 3 key pillars: the pre-primary education, the pre-service training, the in-service training, and also the continuous professional development. These continue to be the 3 pillars. It's been talked for decades, but the fact is, the linkage between these 3 pillars are still weak in any country, including South Africa. The ECD practitioners in this country is still not part of the DBE teachers' professional development scheme. We need to strengthen this, but of course it needs to be step by step. It's not an easy task for the DBE, but I know that they are heading to the right direction. This is just showing the multi pathways for how to strengthen the teachers as well as the learners, but just the key part is that there are a lot of elements, not just education, gender, health, nutrition, the social protection, the community, the social behavioral change. All these aspects needs to be coordinated on the ground, led by the local administration to provide this holistic service that the children need. It's easier said than done. Working across different sectors is not easy, but that's what our children needs. The third strategy, I'm talking about the governance through this. As you can see here, we're talking about different aspects, whether it's about having a proper strategic plan or evaluation, the monitoring functions, the implementation, etc. I'm just putting it out there as something global, but I think it's quite relevant for South Africa because South Africa is so unique in how the national system works. It's so decentralized. As you heard my bio, I've spent my last 10 years in the Arab states. Highly, highly centralized. So if the president says do this, it's done. The military goes around different schools and they get it done. There's pros and cons to it. Because of the history, because of the structure, it's highly decentralized. But if you have those extra layers, certain things tend to take more time or tend to create that complexity that needs to be resolved. So I think the government stewardship of the ECCE is an area that needs to be also prioritized as we talk. The last bit is about the advocacy. I believe this Indaba is part of the advocacy to push ECCE for foundational literacy and numeracy and the foundational learning for skilling in the future. But just highlighting that there was a continental conference in November last year led by Africa Union. The Nouakchott declaration really was a political high-level declaration to really find financial mechanism for sustainable development on education and skilling. These kind of work, which usually United Nations and UNICEF tend to be involved, we do try to tap into the policymakers and decision makers to secure funding for education. Thank you so much. The last bit is just a links to some of the resources. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was Ms. Hannah Yoshimoto from UNICEF. Remember we said the intention with the session today is for us to contribute towards the ultimate, which will be the resolution taken by our ministers later in the year. So please jot down your questions, your comments as the presentations unfolds so that we can then move. When we get to that session, you'll be able to ask your question. The next presentation comes from the Department of Basic Education. We have just had an international perspective. The DBE is going to give us a national perspective, and it will be presented by Ms. Kulula Manuna, who heads the Chief Directorate responsible for ECD and reading literacy in the Department of Basic Education. Her experience spans over 30 years in education, spent in both public service and non-governmental sector. She has served on several regional and international platforms which promote foundational learning. Please join me as we welcome Ms. Kulula Manona to give us the national perspective. Over to you, sister.
Thank you, HOD. Let me try and fix this. I think I was given a lot of beans when I was young. So that's what my mom told me. Thank you, and it's still morning. Good morning, MEC and HOD and all of you ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to say protocol observed. And I want to thank my colleague from UNICEF, Hannah, for giving us that global perspective, because it is going to help us to be able to position our own strategies as a country in terms of where we are going and in terms of whether what we are trying to do as we are setting up systems, particularly for early childhood care and education, to see how that fits in terms of the global perspective. But I think it's important that all of us ponder on this question as to why ECCE matters. I think we have heard from Hannah that this has been intentionally made to be the first priority because ECCE provides the bedrock that is required for future learning, the bedrock that is required for individual development, that is required for developing our children such that they can make meaningful contributions to society at large as well as to the world. But if you look at what the Nurturing Care for Early Childhood Development framework, which was propounded by UNICEF, by the World Bank, as well as the World Health Organization, it describes 5 interrelated and indivisible components which are necessary for getting our children to thrive and to reach their full potential. And I hope you can see what those are. They are ranging from family, which is the important role that parents and caregivers play, right up to nutrition, to what we offer our children when it comes to the play and learning experiences, the role that the non-state sector plays in terms of supporting us to walk this journey together. So it's important that we keep that at the back of our minds, that this priority, which is priority 1, really matters, as it really sets that foundation. But when we talk about South Africa in terms of provisioning of ECCE, what does it actually look like? It looks like multiple modalities. And these modalities are intending to ensure that we meet our country and its context through our parents, our children, and all those who support our children right where they need us. So our context is very critical because ECCE is not like schools. It is provided right when the child is conceived, up until the child reach the school-going age. And so where do we find those children? So our modalities have to speak to that. For instance, it's important to appreciate the role that parents and caregivers play in providing ECCE experiences to our children. So that is one of the modalities of providing ECCE. We also provide it through early learning centers where children can gather in groups and be able to be led through their learning and play experiences by someone who is trained, who is appreciated, who is professionalized. So that's another modality. The other modalities include those who take a few children and look after them, and those are those we call childminders. We also have other modalities like toy libraries, which are very vital in providing play experiences where they should be kitted with resources that are going to be able to stimulate early learning and play for our children. We also have it provided through mobile ECD programs. And again, this talks to the importance of us acknowledging and appreciating our context and bringing solutions that are actually appropriate and that speak to our context. We know that there are areas that are not able to access other forms of provisioning. So it's important to provide mobility in terms of our services so that we can take services to those who cannot reach services unless we bring those services to them. And we also have play groups. And if you've seen play groups at work, you will appreciate that it gathers caregivers, it gathers professionals and children, and it really is a promotion of the essence of teaching and learning in early childhood development, which is learning through play. So I just wanted us to understand that. But why does it continue to be important? We've tracked what the importance of early childhood and care is, but it still continues to date to be very important. Why so? We've just received, towards the end of 2024, the Lancet series, and which really looks at the next 1,000 days. It brings together findings from global experts, which highlight how access to high-quality ECD can exponentially improve development outcomes. It can reduce inequality, and it can bring about significant societal benefits. And I think Hannah spoke to that as well. So what this tells us is that ECCE is a crucial investment in any country's social and economic future. But there are two key objectives in ECCE, and those are equitable access and quality. And they really give us the framework on which to provide ECCE services. Hannah spoke about one declaration. There have been many declarations which really show the global commitment to promoting ECCE. And as way back as about 10 years ago, when the SDGs were adopted, we also saw again, I think it was in 2015, to support how the globe is going to propel the SDGs. We saw the Ancient Declaration. We also saw very recently the Tashkent Declaration. These show the global commitment to ensuring that we get to that promised 2013. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't need to tell any one of you gathered here today how important the year 2013 is, because it is a year that really captures the hopes and the aspirations of the world. So there's a lot that we want to achieve by 2013. So if we have this framework of equitable access and quality, what does it really entail? It entails access indeed. And access is about ensuring that every child and his or her family has access to a flexible package of age-appropriate and affordable ECD programs. And if you can think back to our modalities are trying to be true to this. It also talks about coordinating these services, because we know that ECCE is provided from multiple dimensions. There has to be a strong sense of coordination. It talks about resourcing ECCE. If we say that it is our priority, and we say that every country should ensure that ECCE is promoted as it embeds all future learning. So we have to ensure that there is sufficient funding and resourcing that is effectively targeted to this priority area. The workforce. Our G20 has really placed professionals at the core of what our presidency is about. And if we are not going to pay attention to ensuring that we have the workforce that is capable, that has the competencies, that is supported along its journey for growth, then really we will not be achieving these aspirations of 2030. Also, very important and very key is that all of these should lead us to quality. Going back now to these very two important objectives of expanding access while improving quality. What it says to us as member countries and as the global community at large is that we have to find ways of facing this dual challenge of expanding access while ensuring that simultaneously we are improving quality for these programs. So a key factor in achieving both these is appropriate and contextually embedded pathways for the recruitment, for training, and for professional development of ECCE practitioners. Where do we stand as South Africa in this journey? What we are trying to do is trying to be very innovative. You heard my colleague Hannah saying that the globe is really still struggling with this, and us as South Africa, we are just as struggling as other parts of the globe in terms of professionalizing and promoting our ECCE workforce. So in terms of training and progression pathways, we know that we have the conventional ways that we are using currently, which are the credentialing frameworks that help us with the skilling pathways and interventions that we are providing. But above that, we are thinking of other innovative ways like micro-credentialing and digital badging of our workforce. So micro-credentials present a mechanism to structure more short-term, accessible entry points to the profession, including recognition of prior learning from where progression to higher qualifications can be supported. Remember, I said we have to solution for our context. And what does our context require? It requires us to really think in an expansive way and to really look at what other innovations can we bring to play. So we have short-term, medium-term, and long-term vision in terms of how are we going to ensure that we skill our professionals so that they really occupy the center place that we want them to occupy. We've long understood as government that there's nothing that we can do alone. We've long understood the need for strengthening public-private partnerships, which is why at the core of our strategy, we have a social compact that understands the role of NGOs and civil society, of implementing partners like your training and resource organizations, of understanding the role the private sector should play, of the role that the donor community should play. All of these are critical partners to government, because it is only when we work together that we can begin to really make the kind of moves that we want to see. So structured frameworks and processes for collaboration between all ECCE role players, they are in place, and they will play a central role at ensuring that effort and resources are aligned. There's no duplication, that we maximize on these efforts to ensure that we really make the kind of impact that only when we are together can we really make. It's also important to say that as South Africa, just like many other parts of the country, we understand the importance of measuring. Because sometimes they say it is that which is measured that people really throw their full selves behind. So we are also promoting measuring what matters. So in this case, I am going to just talk to two key elements of what it is that we are measuring in ECCE. One being measuring whether our children are thriving by the age of 5. We know that we are struggling with children who aren't thriving when they are 10. They can't thrive when they are 10, when they don't thrive when they are 5. We also measure them when they enter school through the early learning and national assessments. And once we get these measurements results, the support that we provide that ensures quality assurance is developmental in nature, and I'm talking about the quality assurance and support system. I'm almost done, HOD. It's also important to note the role that the parents are playing. I've said this right from the beginning, and fortunately we're going to have a panel that is going to really focus on the role of parents. This is my last slide, which in essence says that we must ensure equitable access to affordable, inclusive, equitable, safe, and quality ECCE. That we must enhance support for parents and caregivers through evidence-based interventions, social protection, and family-friendly policies. We must all strengthen the ECCE workforce with quality training, including continuing professional development and remuneration. We must provide sustainable funding for ECCE and promote public-private partnerships. We must implement quality assurance and support systems to strengthen quality. We must promote data-driven innovations in ECCE. And lastly, we must promote multidisciplinary research and develop contextual and culturally relevant standards and measurements. I thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's give a very big round of applause. I allowed the additional minutes because this is the national strategy. Everything that we're going to discuss feeds into that. Allow me to invite then to the podium Mrs. Sesi Nombulelo Nglesi, the CEO of the ETDP SITA. And she said to me, I mustn't say all these lines because she is known across the sector. So she is the CEO of the ETDP SITA. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much to the program director, the HOD, Ms. Moyane. Let me extend my sincere gratitude for inviting me. Thank you very much to the MEC for education. I do understand that the Honorable Premier and Honorable Deputy Minister are busy with other sections. To the executive mayors that are here, I really greet you this. It's still the morning, no, it's the afternoon now. Thank you very much. Let me just say that all protocol observed in the interest of time. The program director has showed me that I needed to watch the time. Thank you very much for affording me the opportunity. I will talk to the issues of the importance of the early childhood care and education. You will find that all of us will be talking more or less to the same kind of issues because this is what matters most in terms of our education, lifelong learning and development. I will just look in terms of briefly on the importance of early childhood care and education in foundational learning, the key policy kind of issues that are supporting ECCE, and look in terms of the shortfalls that we're having, because we must also look at the challenges that are facing us as a country and be able to deliver on strategies, and that will provide the way forward in that kind of, I'm not seeing the presentation. Or can we just thank you very much. In terms of the early childhood care and education, I just want to indicate that it is very important that we have gone to this kind of the milestone as a country. For quite a number of years, we have not taken early childhood development very seriously. And we must thank the presidents for making sure that the function shift to DBE is going to give us the kind of the impact that we are looking at. ECCE is covering the period of 0 to 5 years. And I know that for the practitioners who are also looking 0 to 4, I asked Ms. Manona in terms of what happens to this age 5 and said it's the missing middle. those that understand missing middle will understand that, we are not sure as the country what to do. Indeed, it is a global priority, as Ms. Hannah has indicated to us. And we are owing to many of the social and economic kind of derivatives that we need to get. These are the benefits of looking at the importance of ECD and education. I just wanted to indicate to you that if you look in terms of the slides that one has provided, you can see that without strong foundational learning through early childhood care and education, it is not possible to get progression to higher grades. And that will become a challenge for the children and will lead to the gaps in achievement that persist through the academic and professional lives of these children. At this point in time, we are measuring our success through metric results. And I think Drive 5 will be also our starting point to measure our success as the country. The importance of early childhood care and development, I will just state a few reasons why it is important. The issues around cognitive development, learning through play, socioeconomic and emotional development, motor skills, and critical thinking have also been raised. But I just want to mention 10 of these quickly, and you will understand that if we ignore the importance of early childhood care and education, the country will be doomed forever. It is important because it creates a rapid brain development. At the age of 5, Hannah has also confirmed and said 90%. Research has shown 80 to 90% of the brain cells develop by age of 5. And therefore, there's very little that we can do beyond that age. So the neural cells that are there in those young ones are the ones that are developing very fast. Should we neglect that kind of the stage, then we are not going to have the kind of the successes that we wish to have as a country. Number 2, it promotes school readiness. We know that by the time they get to the school, they have the social skills, numeracy skills, literacy skills, and some of the necessary skills like technology, because our young children now, at a very young age, they are techno-savvy, and they can be able to understand technology better than many of the adults. Number 3, it leads to holistic development. That child is brought into development in many of the aspirations of life that are required. It's not only one-dimensional, it's multi-dimensional, it's holistic, because there's play that is happening, there's music that is happening, aesthetic, and a lot of other kind of growths that are needed at that age. It enhances emotional intelligence. Without the early learning foundations, we are not going to get our young children developed into emotional intelligence. It provides also resilience and self-regulation. You will see that children that have not been in a position to learn at an early stage, they are not able to regulate themselves. Self-discipline, self-control, self-mannerism, those things are acquired at a very early stages of life. Long-term academic access and success. If we don't build that kind of resilience at an early age, we cannot dream of having better quality matriculants, better graduates without foundational learning. Otherwise, the child would have missed certain kinds of steps. Our country, given the socio-economic kind of conditions, if we are building a resilient early childhood development structures in our societies, socio-economic inequalities would be reduced drastically. Enhanced parental support is one of the importance, again, of early learning at this point in time, because that's where educators and parents are able to interact and meet and deal with the issues of early childhood development. The importance, again, of having this early learning as foundational learning, it promotes the 21st century skills and enhances them, because, as I've indicated, that's where some of the technological skills, creative kind of skills, innovative kind of skills are learned, and it becomes foundations for global citizenships. So it is very important that we understand the context and where it gets. And therefore, when we look in terms of what we have, it's that summary of how important is early childhood care and education in foundational learning. We can't talk of learning without having the foundations right in our country. And therefore, we know that our government is having quite a number of these programs that have been indicated by Ms. Manona in her presentation, that we have to invest in early childhood care and education, and making sure that Africa's future is made the brightest in the country and never again be called a dark continent. We have to make sure that we promote ECCE and make sure that as a country, as a continent, we are building prosperous, inclusive, and resilient human resource for society. That is also part of the Africa Agenda 2063. Therefore, stakeholders must make sure that we continue supporting one another. The legislative frameworks must also talk to the issues of access quality, because access is the biggest challenge in our country. And if we don't collaborate as stakeholders, we are not going to get to the desired results. There are also key policy measures that are in place that are supporting the importance of the early childhood care and education and strengthening these foundations that we need to have. I'm not going to go into the much details, but the National Development Plan Vision 2030, as it has been indicated that 2030 is the year that we're looking ahead. I must say that, regrettably, that if we don't start now and work hard now, 2030 will come without us having done all what we have planned to be doing. We have to make sure that we do whatever we have to do and collaborate all the resources that we're having in getting the desired outcomes. We are also having the National Integrated Early Childhood Development Policy that has been in place in 2015. That policy provides an enabling framework so that all of us as provinces, as national, as the global citizens who work towards a united front and not have much kind of the differences. The National Early Learning Development Standards of DPE of 2009, they are also guiding us towards ensuring that we take cognizance of the importance of early childhood care and education. National Policy on Screening, Identification, Assessment and Support, we have just heard that the assessment is going to be another yardstick that we're going to use to measure our successes as a country. The South African Curriculum Framework for children from birth to 4 years, that is the age that is very important as we are looking into the entire kind of the early childhood care and education. The 0 to 4 years, the 5 years, the grade R that we are having. I must be able to say that whilst we're having all of these dreams that are there are serious challenges in our communities. There are serious challenges that we need to address. Although we have these government policies, we're having the national strategies that are very important. Challenges in our country remain unresolved, and they need all of us. One of those is the issue of access. We do understand that there are still a number of early childhood development centers that have not yet been able to be moved to the next level of the category. Many of the provinces have not yet been able to make that bigger shift, and we still have most of our children not able to access appropriate and quality early childhood care and education. We are also having a challenge in terms of the ECD practitioners. And I think that's where all of us will need to collaborate, especially the ETDP SETA will be able to lend a greater kind of support in ensuring that we have appropriate, well-equipped, competent, caring practitioners. And somebody did indicate that practitioners are not part of the DBE strategy. As we are formulating our integrated teacher development and education planning strategy, we are phasing in the practitioners 0 to 4 years, and we'll have to make sure that they get the kind of the skills they need in order to make this transition a reality. And therefore, as the ETDP SETA, I want to pledge that kind of the support, working with all other kind of stakeholders in ensuring that we provide that support and making sure that the practitioners, they do get at least a level 4 ECD. We do know that there are also childminders that will need short skills programs in order for them to be able to carry this responsibility. The other issue that we're having is also higher education incapacities. We must say that most of our higher education institutions, they don't deal with 0 to 4. It's only now they're beginning to struggle around the grade R, which is the B.Ed foundation phase. And we dare not fail our future kind of our children because we need a curriculum change in our higher education institution. Curriculum that is going to give entrepreneurship, innovation, and creativity, and no more fundamental pedagogics. Lastly, we just want to ensure that we have to call upon the NGO sector also to support the education and learning for our practitioners, especially in the 0 to 4 kind of, and strengthen quality programs, curriculum, safety measures in schools, and ongoing monitoring. As a way forward, HOD, we will be looking into the issues of registration and access and where support is needed. Secondly, partnerships and collaborations. Thirdly, also looking at the issues of awareness that are taking place and also practitioner development. I thank you.
Let's give a very big round of applause. You can see the passion. But this is an important part of our work. Very interesting indeed. Please, we are going to take questions after the next speaker. Prepare yourself. We're going to use a QR code. We will indicate when we get to that. But allow me to invite on the stage Ms. Haupalelwi Motwagae, the Vice President, Corporate Social Investment and Sasol Foundation. She is a chartered accountant, but through her life, she had a passion for people and people development. And she started working and refocusing her career to sustainable development, incorporating transformation, enterprise development, CSI, monitoring, reporting, and stakeholder management as a transformation manager. She has worked in various institutions as a chartered accountant. She worked at ABSA. She worked at Ernst & Young, where she completed her articles. She also worked at the ABI, Amalgamated Beverage Industries, which we call today Coca-Cola, Beverage South Africa, as a management accountant. She joined Sasol in 2019, and where she is currently leading Sasol approach to delivering social value in communities. I've indicated she is the vice president for corporate social investment and the Sasol Foundation. Let's welcome Ms. Haupalelwe Mutwagaye. We had said here that education, it's everybody's business.
Thank you very much, HOD. As per the previous speakers, allow me to greet the Honorable MEC for Education, Ma'am Kathy. Very good to see you again, as well as the councillors that are here with us today. And allow me to say all protocol observed. I think today my role really is to give the perspective of corporates and why it's important, as the previous speaker has highlighted, that we work in collaboration and partnership in order to deliver on the solutions that we want as South Africa. So from a SASO perspective, we have a self-interest in the reason why we get involved in education. We realize that as business, as corporate South Africa, we have an inevitable relationship with the communities that are reliant on our operations, both as they work within our operations, but also because they rely on us for their livelihoods. So having said that, most of you know SASO. In the Mpumalanga province, we have a very strong footprint within this province, and we have long worked with not only the local provincial Department of Education in terms of delivering solutions, but also in terms of working with the national department in terms of crafting systemic solutions that impact the rest of the country from an education perspective. From a SASO perspective, we really look to develop our education solutions through our vehicle, the SASO Foundation, who has a bold vision to be a transformational pathfinder in education that is targeted at growing human potential in the fields of engineering, science, and technology. And this is what drives our investment. And when we think about it, this effectively is what drives our investment, which is long-standing. We have long invested in this particular space of early childhood care and education over the last 30 years, because we recognize the importance of being able to achieve the outcomes that we want. We are currently struggling, as the minister highlighted in her matric results speech, the fact that the number of learners that are taking up mathematics as well as physical sciences has declined significantly. And this presents a problem not only for the sustainability of our own organization, but for our industry as well as for the growth and prosperity of South Africa and our ability to be economically competitive, as Mema Nana highlighted when she was up here talking about why ECE is important. And therefore, we want to work closely with the department in terms of addressing systemic challenges in STEM, and in STEM specifically in foundational learning, and bringing these concepts two learners that are within this space. We want to support the department's vision around universal access to quality learning, ensuring that no child is left behind. We want to ensure that we're providing targeted interventions in low-resource communities where the need is greatest. More often than not, the solutions are already present, particularly in your higher quintile areas or your higher LSM areas. Whereas if you start to really look at where the need for access and equality is, it really is in our underserved communities. And therefore, from our perspective, from what we have done within this particular space, from a national perspective, we have supported DBE's priorities to increase and improve the quality of foundational learning. We work actively with the department to develop replicable systems that would build strong foundations for STEM learning, ensuring school readiness as well as holistic development of children. We contribute to thought leadership by continuously testing and improving our models. And at a community level, we provide comprehensive support to all the ECDs that are within our fence line communities. We support the initial training and qualifications for practitioners as well as center managers, particularly with the new requirements that the department has rolled out in terms of the incorporation into the Department of Basic Education, to make sure that the practitioners within our communities are ready and able to integrate into the system. We also offer mentorship, coaching, and continuous professional development. Over and above this, we work actively to ensure that we are supporting parental involvement with our learners. We are also working actively to ensure that we are creating opportunities for surrounding services around children to be able to provide and ensure the development and growth of the children within our communities. This approach ensures that we create an impact where we operate. It ensures that while contributing meaningfully to national education outcomes, and we applaud the President and the Minister for their very bold statement around contributing 10 billion rand over the next few years or next 3 years in order to ensure this integration goes smoothly. And we are fully committed, MEC, to both ensuring this within the province, but also in ensuring that we are supporting the national department, Memanana. We aim to ensure that we are solving for all of the problems that were highlighted by Hannah, and some of these you already know. And one of the key things that we realized is that this problem did not just exist in the global space. It didn't just exist at a national South African level, but we did our own baseline to make sure and understand what was happening within our communities of Mpumalanga, Free State, as well as Gauteng North area. And we found that all of those problems were replicated there. And this has driven a need for us to start to think innovatively around what are the solutions that we could put forward to help the department to fast-track the integration of all of these intents into the Department of Basic Education and integrate these learners into the department. And in doing that, I'm going to skip this because I think in terms of our current interventions, I'm going to skip that and I'm going to go into this from a time perspective. And I want to share with you what we are currently working on and what we're currently piloting. One of the things that we've spoken about is accessibility. We've spoken about equitable access to early learning. And this is one of the things that we're intending to do, one of the things that we're currently working on. We started this journey a few years ago. We've been talking to the Department of Basic Education at a national and at a local level around how do we help in this fast tracking. And one of the things that came to us was we need to pilot a solution that we hope is going to be scalable. We want the solution to be best in class, from pipeline of excellence to excellent systems. We want it to be innovative. Well, how we're going to pilot this is that we want to ensure that we do or execute, learn fast from the model, and then share the learnings with as many people as possible. And this would happen on open source learning. ensure that the model is actually scalable, that when we do hand it over eventually to the Department of Education, it is easy to scale this model up, and we want to make sure that it is accessible. And we want to do this through collaborating and convening, or using our convening power to pull other corporates into the space to ensure that we are all able to ensure that no child is left behind. There are a number of key features around what the best-in-class or affordable gold standard model that we have put forward to the department are. And that is firstly around best-in-class facilities. This is going to require a lot of front-end loading from corporates, and we're hoping that as soon as we are able to use our convening power to scale this model, because we are front-end loading some of these things around the best-in-class facilities, they help to save the department money in the future, because we would have put these things forward around green buildings, being off the grid, and so on. And then, of course, we want to ensure that we have a strong learning program, or a robust learning program. We're currently working with some professors from the University of Pretoria around STEM education curriculum, and how do we incorporate this into the early learning space, and hopefully we'll be able to share that with you very soon, MEC, once it's gone through the national standards department, as well as the early learning department of the DBE, or the national department. Hopefully we'll be able to share the outcome of what that curriculum looks like. The center is meant to operate as a hub and spoke model. And that hub and spoke model will ensure that this center becomes the center of excellence while supporting all other ECDs around it. So spreading the knowledge to all the other ECDs, both in terms of the training of practitioners, the provision of health services, social services to learners and communities within the area, the provision of library reading resources to the community, to the ECDs around the area where this ECD is. And hopefully when we're able to replicate it, this hub and spoke model will ensure that we continue to grow the footprint of the number of learners that are able to access quality early learning interventions. So what does success look like for us? From our perspective, success looks like every child who enters the school space is able to be school ready, is able to be passionate about science, and they start thriving right from the beginning when they start school. We want to make sure that every center is safe. One of the things that was highlighted by our studies was that only about 38% of centers are actually safe enough for children to be at those centers. We want to make sure that every center is safe and is equipped to deliver quality early learning. That every practitioner must be competent and empowered to implement a dynamic and engaging curriculum that fosters creativity, critical thinking, and problem solving. We would like to see the AGS scaled nationally in collaboration with the Department of Education as well as government, but leveraging the extensive resources of corporate South Africa and non-governmental stakeholders. We define success as not only coverage, but the quality of program delivery as well as learning outcomes. And these must include managers who provide effective instructional leadership, measurable improvements in terms of children's development, properly governed, efficient, and well-managed centers, meaningful parental involvement, as well as ensuring that we are collaborating in terms of delivering the solution. One of the key considerations, or the key considerations that you have to take into account from my previous point, is that collaboration is key, it is critical. We must collaborate intentionally as government, as businesses, as NGOs, as donors, and as communities. We also need to think differently about how we scale innovative solutions, especially in resource-constrained environments. And we must hold each other accountable, not only for delivery on our various promises, but for learning, adapting, and course-correcting where needed. For successful collaboration, we need to consider the funding of these solutions, these assets, the staffing of these facilities, who owns these facilities, as well as how these facilities are governed. Ultimately, all of these fall under the Department of Education. And that's why we are trying to pilot within a bubble so that we can eventually hand this over to the Department of Education. In closing, please allow me to say from a SASO perspective, we do not see early childhood care and education as charity. This is nation building. It was highlighted that every single learner is an asset to this country. A country's true wealth does lie in its human potential, and that capital is shaped long before grade 1. So let's use this Indaba to reaffirm our collective commitment. The outcome is what we all want, and that is very clear, that no child is left behind and no practitioner is left unsupported, that no community is underserved and no opportunity is missed to give our children the future they deserve. Let us commit to be bold. Let us commit that our actions will be scalable, and let us commit that our actions will ensure inclusivity and development of all children. So in essence, let us do this together. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you the corporate perspective around why this is important to us.
Thank you so much, Meha Upalelwe. We have concluded the first session where we had presentations. We're going to allow 15 minutes for questions and also the answers from the presenters. But we want all of us to participate. So we do have a QR code there. Please use your phone. Those of us that have smartphones, you can use your phone camera to scan, and that will get you to the link so that you can also ask your questions or even make an input and a proposal that should be taken up. We want to record everybody's ideas. So feel free to ask your question, make comment, and add. I'm going to see by show of hands, can the ushers please assist me as we take the questions? I'm going to start the side if there is. I'm noting a hand there, so there's one. You are number 1, please remember your number. That's number 1. Anyone here? Okay, that's number 2 there at the back. That's number 2. Yeah, the light is a bit too bright for. Okay, where's number? You are number 3. So let's move to that extreme. Let's start there. Anyone in that? Okay, you are number 4. Number 4. Number 5, and number 6. Yeah, these are the hands that I've noted. There are 6 hands. Is there? Oh, yes, here. 7. My apology. Executive Mayor. I'm sure Nerenti Amizawel. That's the Executive Mayor will be number 7. Let's start with number 1. Please help me with the microphone. Yes. Introduce yourself and then ask the question. Thank you so much. Help us with the microphones. Switch it on. How many microphones do we have? Okay, let's take number 6. You are number 4. Number 4. Let's take number 4 while we're getting the microphone for this side.
Thank you, Ma'am Lucy. My name is Peter Ferreira. I'm the Provincial Manager for FETSAS. And I've got only one question to the 4 beautiful ladies on the stage. In their presentations, I missed something. Are there programs running parallel for parents on the ECCE program? The reason why I'm asking that is because in our lovely South Africa, the moment the learners in a program, the parents are gone. So the question is, abroad, nationally, do we have programs to ensure that our parents are there till the end of matric, because then we can ensure a quality pass rate for our matriculants, as we know the parents are non-existing at our schools. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Number 5.
Okay. Good morning, HOD. I am Matebula Arnold from the Department of Higher Education and Training. Please allow me in my questioning to be a bit biased for obvious reasons. I'm sure that will be okay. But in the presentations, I would recall that in the first educational group, the virtual one, Germany, when talking about the ECD priority, made an input of including children with special needs in ensuring that they are catered for. Now, why am I bringing this up again? It's because of one of the base challenges that normally takes place in our countries is that when such kids finally go to special schools in the age of 5 or 6, you find that they are muchly behind. Some of them, they are identified and diagnosed later because of perhaps parents do not understand. And another challenge is because of the system on its own in our community does not allow such kids to be seen publicly. That's why I said I'm being biased. Second question for me is the issue of businesses and noting the fact that Sasol is here. Educating a child with special needs is quite expensive. I'm sure parents whom I hear can attest to that. Now, it's not a resource-based challenge only, but it includes taking the child from and to school, and the resources of which some of the technologies that allows kids with special needs to get the best educations cost as far as 1.2 million. And I'm not exaggerating. You can check with special schools such as Slindogule for your knowledge. But one of the biggest challenges as I end my point, my input or questioning, is the issue of curriculum, which is not favorable to kids with special needs. You find that already when the child is young, those children are excluded in some of the programs or curriculums. By the time the child reaches a stage wherein they have to choose subjects in your grade 10, many types of disabilities are said to be not conducive for them to study certain subjects such as maths and science because of their nature of disabilities. Thank you, HOD, for allowing me to be biased, but I'm the son of the province, so I think it's fair for me to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, remember we have 15 minutes, ne? The QR code, yes, it's still there. Let's make sure that we use that also. Let's take number 6. Four, 5, 6, yeah, then 7.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the speakers. It would be lovely to hear from everyone because South Africa is very specific and it's a current country developing, and education is very important, and the education departments are really working very hard. But let's face it that we are not equal literally here yet. Now, on a day like today, to an ECD center where a learner needs to walk to or have to go to, or there's transports and the buses get, what are we planning? How are we going to, even our high school learners today in a rural area might not even get in a bus and get to the school today. What is the plan? Because the education system might be there, but sometimes the access of our very rural learners are a problem, and that in the end lets them fall behind with a couple of months. I mean, if we have this weather for a week, it's a week schooling not happening. So I would like, how can we put systems in place? The education content might be there, but the learners getting there might be a problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Number 7. Number 7, Honorable Weber, you didn't introduce yourself?
Sorry, I will speak very loud. I'm Honorable Anneli Weber. I'm from the Basic Education Committee.
Thank you.
No, thank you very much, HOD. Let me start by welcoming the presentations. Although I've joined when the 3 last presenters were giving their presentation. What I am interested in, HOD, is that is a presidential call on the issue of this ECD, and also that the president has given us a clear marching orders in terms of the 7th administration, the 3 priorities. But as an executive mayor who is leading the most rural areas within my district, how do we then, at least the question it was around on what the lady was just saying, how do we then feature in as a sector departments, because we've got this district development model whereby we have the 7 working streams that we are having education as part of it. How can we best see it to it that we plug education in terms of its work stream on the district development model, so that we are able as municipalities also to touch base in terms of awareness in most of our rural areas. Thank you very much, HOD.
Thank you. We're going back to number 1.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I am Mandla Mabuza from the National Teachers Union. Indeed, we welcome all the presentations. Most importantly, some of these presentation talks to the issue of resources, which obviously involves finances. My contribution is with regard to the issue of financing of our schools. One of the UNESCO recommendation from the high-level panel suggests that indeed various states need to make sure that funding is done. There should be adequate funding, domestic funding that is inconsistent with existing benchmarks, at least 6% of the country's GDP and 20% of the total government expenditure. Yet we continue to have challenges in our country where we are experiencing budget cuts at the time when we know that indeed it has been recommended globally that our public schools should be funded. We are also experiencing a situation where we have austerity measures which create a problem in our sector. We've got many vacancies in our sector, especially critical vacancies. We are talking about resourcing. There was a speaker that was talking about resourcing.
Okay.
I'm not just being critical, but I want us to say, if we continue with our deliberations, as part of the recommendation, we must take it within ourselves to say, how best can we try to address this challenge that we are faced with, that of budget cut that is also affecting your own office, Madam HOD. This is some of the things that we must package together as we conclude this session to say, what is it that we can do, even including the involvement of the stakeholders that are in the house to assist the sector in terms of the funding. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's take number 2. Number 2 is somewhere there. Now number 2 and then number 3 there. Number 2, Lapangin.
Thank you, HOD. My name is Thabo. I'm from the ELRC. Let us appreciate the presenters. The first issue that we want to check with the presenters is the issue of accessibility. The 0 to 4 cohort is presented in private sector in a form of crèches. So we want to check, because those crèches being managed privately, they expect parents to pay. So with the level of unemployment in our country, how are we going to make sure that those who cannot afford to pay are catered for? Number two, are there any plans from DBE to take over these centers? As we indicated that they are privately owned. And the third issue is about accountability and monitoring. How are we ensuring that these centers are accountable to DBE or to the provincial departments, because they are privately managed? And lastly is the issue of practitioners who most of the time knock in our offices, but unfortunately, because they are not part of our sector, they experience exploitation. Then the last issue is to appreciate Mpumalanga Department of Education for establishing the ECDI. It is something in the good direction in terms of training this practitioner. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's take number 3.
No, thank you very much, HOD. Kabelo Likitlani from SADU in Mpumalanga. Let's also follow suit and appreciate the presentations made. Indeed, they are insightful. HOD will try to be short. In fact, we are noticing something very interesting, that both or all the speakers are actually emphasizing on the importance of quality foundational learning. And we are specifically raising this because we've got a proposal or a request. One, while at the very same time we would also further appreciate if we start to see department spending as much or allocating as much attention as possible to the ECD as a sector itself. But secondly, we have this proposal, perhaps when we leave the house, because our understanding is that the sector on its own, it's quite large beyond the Department of Education. So we want to propose even to the Office of Premier to come into the space and assist in this fashion. Because of the amendments in the Bela Act, the required minimum for one to become a teacher, it is now your degree, your B.Ed degree. Now here in Mpumalanga, we are having a number, I think it's even 800 or so, a number of grade R practitioners in terms of their qualification. They were able to complete this diploma in grade R. But they are located in the pockets of the province. They are not employed. So these are people that can, if both the Office of the Premier and the Basic Department, they come closer, they can then ensure that while we enter the space in terms of assisting the ECD, but we are also contributing in terms of minimizing the unemployment in the province. So our request is, can the two start or maybe initiate a program where they come together, try to locate all these qualified grade R practitioners so that they can bring them into the system. They start to contribute positively while they are also earning something. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We have 4 presenters. We do have a session that will be focusing on parenting, the next one. So I'm going to just briefly, each one of you, 1 minute each. We're not doing well on time. Just to speak on, don't represent. Yeah, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, HOD. I think many of these questions perhaps need a response from the department. Thank you. The question on parental involvement will be indulged, as you have just said. in the next panel discussion. The question around children with special needs, a very important aspect of our country's provisioning to us citizens. What we are doing in terms of early childhood care and education is that and I think the speaker spoke about the importance of early identification. We already have in the schooling sector the CS policy, but it was intended to begin only from those children who are at school. So what we are doing now is that we are writing a module, we're almost completing that module that is looking specifically at strengthening the competence of the workforce in ECCE in terms of screening, identification, assessment, and support to support the notion of early identification. We also are very blessed to have an army of social workers who are part of the ECCE workforce, whose strength is supporting even in this area of children with special needs. That includes referral systems that we have as a department. We also have been working with an NGO that specializes in supporting practitioners and parents with inclusive practices in terms of delivering the curriculum. The next question was on the plans to close the gap in terms of mobile access for our children. Like we do have a scholar transport. I think what we did and what we promised when we took over the function was that we were going to look at short run plans, medium to long term run. And I think this is one of those areas that will form part of that medium to long term run. And we are still looking at various ways in which we are systemizing early childhood development so that we can really make it to receive the same benefits that the schooling sector is receiving. So it's a work in progress. Honorable Mayor, I'm very excited that you are asking this question about the involvement of the municipalities. And you are bringing to our attention the importance of the district development model and what implications it has for what we call the one plan. How do we blend together as government both these spheres to make sure that we provide services to our people? And I think what I can respond to there is to say that municipalities have an obligation to provide childcare facilities, and ECD programs are part of those childcare facilities, and you are empowered by the Schedule 4B. So the Children's Amendment Bill, which is going to go out into the approval processes. We've already taken it out for public comments. It actually delineates these roles and strengthens both these arms in terms of what it is that should be done for early learning programs. So what we are appealing to is for more developmental approaches when it comes to issues like land use consent. I think Umamunglesi here during her presentation spoke about the barriers that are experienced by early learning programs, particularly when they have to be registered. And we can't do this alone. We have to work hand in hand with municipalities. We have to get our environmental health practitioners to prioritize these health visits to ECD centers and to help leverage municipal infrastructure where we have a building belonging to the municipality that can be repurposed for an early learning program. And there are conversations that we need to have around issues around waiving of fees and penalties for ECD programs, because an ECD is for public good. So thank you very much about that. The issue about resourcing, I think we've seen, and you're talking about that in the face of budget cuts, but we've seen that the government has really come behind this priority with the recent 10 billion that has been announced. And there was a question on private provisioning for children who can't pay. We have a subsidy. Part of that 10 billion is to support those children who cannot pay through that subsidy. And there was a question around perhaps what are we going to do? Are these ECD centers because they are private? Are they accountable? We have learnings also from independent schools. We know that they become accountable. We set policy as government, whether it is a publicly provided or it is privately provided. The issue around the Bella Act and the teachers, and I think the appeal there was to the offices of the Premier, the MEC, as well as the HODs, to see how we can support this workforce that we have that has been trained and how we can also help reduce unemployment. And I think this is going to be a coordinated effort to really support that. Thank you, HOD. I don't know from my fellow panelists if there's anyone else who wants to respond to.
Just to top up on the parenting, I think there are a lot of partners that DBE works with. UNICEF definitely is one of it. And there's a lot of good interventions happening, especially in the context of South Africa. And for people like us, what we want to see is where is the scalable, cost-effective model that can be scaled? Because there's so many ideas already. This country is rich in that sense. But what's sustainable, cost-effective, and scalable? Like, say, for example, I think a lot of mothers access Mom Connect. How can they automatically somehow link to ECD Mobi from pregnancy to early childhood? That's low-hanging fruit, for example. And it's not really like innovation per se, but I think there are potential if we do a proper sort of analysis and assessment of these different tools and availabilities.
Thank you. Let's give our presenters a very big round of applause. Thank you so much. I'm told that the QR code there was for attendance, but once we get to the panel, a new one will then be flighted for us to be able to make our comments on that. Thank you so much. You can take your seats. We're moving to the next session where we're looking at innovative, sustainable parenting support programs. We are going to have a panel discussion. Our panelists are Ms. Mpho Papale, a social work policy manager, early childhood development from the DBE, Dr. Pat Moodley, Chief Education Specialist from the Mpumalanga Department of Education, Mr. Warren Pulver, Head of Strategic Partnerships, Rainbow Chicken something, RCL, and Ms. Tuli Makofane from Penridge. Allow me then to invite to the podium here our moderator for this session, Professor Kashani Malaji, the Professor for Education at the University of Mpumalanga. He holds a PhD in Education, Curriculum and Instructional Studies from the University of Fort Hare, and also a postgraduate diploma in higher education for academic developers from the Rhodes University. He has authored a number of articles, over 100 articles in accredited journals. He has successfully supervised 31 master's students and 26 doctoral students, and he has also been awarded several research awards, such as the Young Researcher of the Year, Senior Researcher of the Year, Emerging Researcher of the Year by the Education Association of South Africa. I have indicated that she is from the University of Mpumalanga, and his research interest covers teaching and learning, evaluation of teaching, curriculum development, assessment, and teacher development in higher education. Professor Malaji is already here. Let's all welcome him as he comes to moderate the panel.
Okay. Thank you so much, Chair. And for the interest of time, allow me to say all protocol observed. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today for this important topic on innovative, sustainable parental support. So through our discussion, we will explore how can we create and maintain support system that empowers parents and enhance the well-being of the learner. We will hear from the experts who are in the forefront in terms of this title or the topic by sharing their insights, challenges, and even their successes. So you'll allow me to share with you that you'll agree with me that education is a three-part system. So if you remove one leg on a pot, it will not balance. So in education, we need parents, we need teachers, and we also have a learner. So the three should work together to try and support the full maximum of the potential of the learner. So with those ways, I'm going to introduce the panel, and I'll follow the program as it appears. Maybe it's a way of setting out maybe a baseline for this discussion. Allow me to share a few pointers that will, in a way, channel the discussion with the panel members. One is, how do we create an environment where we have active participation from the parents in terms of supporting learners? And the second one, how do we create a learning environment at home that is conducive or even suitable for learners to learn? And then again, how do we take advantage of technology? Because we can't do away with technology. It's here with us. And how do we make use of it to ensure that the partnership or the working relation between the parents and teachers works better for the benefit of the learner? And then the next one, how do we foster the growth of mindset from the side of the learners? How do we teach them that challenges are only the opportunity for them to grow? How do we teach them the process of learning rather than just the grades? So those are the things that I feel they are key in terms of this discussion. And allow me to call upon on stage our first panel member to come and share with us some of the practices that they do. I think the chair already introduced them. I will not read their profile for the sake of time. So ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce Ms. Mpho Papale, who is the Social Work Policy Manager, Early Childhood Development in the Department of Basic Education. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Prof, and good afternoon, everyone. And as we're looking in terms of the parenting program, where we look at parents, so I'm glad that the previous speakers have spoke a lot in terms of how do we involve parents in terms of learning and also in terms of stimulation of our children. So I'm going to focus more on the program that we are providing at early childhood development with regard to the parent support and also making sure that our children are accessing ECD services. And one speaker spoke about the modalities that we are using in ECD, and parenting is one of the modalities that we are using. One can ask, why do we involve parents? Why do we need them? And in terms of our policies and in terms of our legislation, it gives them the priority to say they need to be involved in terms of our education. So in terms of the policies that are there, that we are looking in terms of implementation of parenting programs, we look in terms of the Constitution that is telling us that children has a right to basic education. And when we talk about basic education, where does it start? it starts from birth. So hence the function, it was moved from the Department of Social Development to Education so that we can focus more on education of our children and improve around the interventions that we need to look into. We also have the Children's Act that is also guiding us in terms of parental involvement, where we look in terms of plans, where we look in terms of early intervention and prevention, where we also involve our parents with regard to early learning. Then we also have a policy that was approved in 2015 that is looking in terms of ECD. The policy is also emphasized around the role of parents in terms of child stimulation. So we're also looking in terms of the different areas that we are having. And in terms of the policy, we have the comprehensive package when it comes to ECD, where it includes a lot of areas where we look in terms of the best interest of a child. So when we look at the comprehensive package, we also have the essential package where we look in terms of the parent support, social protection, health and nutrition. So those are the priorities, and parent support, it's in the central in terms of stimulation of children. So that's where we look in terms of how do we integrate as different departments, as NGOs, in terms of making sure that we support our parents and they are part of stimulation of children, or also in terms of the ECD. The role of parents, when you look at the role of parents, how do we say that parents are involved? So as we go in terms of our ECD programs, you'll ask the practitioners, you'll ask the principals to say, when you call a parent meeting, what are the issues that you discussed? And most of them, they will talk about the fees that needs to be paid. You are left behind in terms of this, you need to do this and that. But when we look at the role of parents, we need to emphasize them understanding and supporting early learning. And through that, we need to engage together and be partners in terms of provision of ECD services. So we need to make sure that the parents, they assist in terms of access to ECD programs, where they need to bring their children in terms of attending the early learning programs at different modalities that were mentioned earlier in terms of the play groups, the ECD centers, and also in terms of the parent support. So we're looking at the first 1,000 days, where we're saying most of our children, they are at home, they are with our parents and our caregivers. How do we make sure that they also access early learning programs? And that's where we come in terms of the parent support programs. And we're not only looking at the parents, we're also involving our caregivers in terms of providing services, and also in terms of making sure that stimulation of children is being provided. So working together with our partners, we're able to have a module, or in terms of how do we integrate and involve our parents, where we're taking them through our parenting skills. And through that, we're not saying that we know it all. Parents, we learn from them also in terms of the different areas. So working together with UNICEF and other partners, where we're looking in terms of how do we make sure that we capacitate our parents and making sure that we are able to share with regard to the different areas. So we look at the different things that we are doing. First of all, we're looking at a parent or a caregiver, looking at their mental wellness, looking at them to say that in order for them to take care of children, are they also taken care of? So that's where we're looking that parents, they need to have time off, they need to have support, they need to share the responsibility with all the family members so that they raise a child. So we're saying that it takes a nation to raise a child. So that's where we got in terms of the looking at the study that we provided, that we did with UNICEF, looking at the knowledge, and also in terms of the practices of our parents, in terms of what they know, and also looking at the play-based learning, where we're saying that children are learning through play. We emphasize in different areas and in different areas. We also emphasize around the healthy family relationship. When we have the healthy family relationship, that's where we are able to stimulate our children. So different areas we look into in terms of learning through play, the creativity, the development of our children through their different milestones. How do we make sure that they are able to develop? And also we're working with the different departments around this area. The Department of Health, that is assisting in terms of the health and nutrition, looking at the first 1,000 days. That's where we look in terms of the Road to Health booklet. How do we make sure that our parents are engaged and are involved and are using that? And currently what we've been doing with the Department of Health, we're looking in terms of screening and identifying our children with learning barriers and also with special needs. So we're having that screening tool that will be included in the Road to Health booklet so that we are able to identify earlier in terms of our children that has barriers. So our parents are critical in terms of identifying those areas and also in terms of prevention. The issues around the child safety and protection. We talked about how we register our ECD program to make sure that our children are safe. How do we make sure that we are protecting our children from abuse and also from neglect? That's where we come in and empower and talk with parents to say, what are the things that we need to do to make sure that our children are protected? And also we're looking in terms of our ECD programs, the people who are working with our children, are they being screened? Are they suitable to work with our children? So parents play a critical role so that they can support our ECD programs to register and to make sure that our children are protected. The issue around positive discipline. How do we make sure that we're looking in terms of our children, that we are able to stimulate them and make sure that they are able to learn? So parents play as role models and they play a critical role in terms of those areas. So we go through in terms of working together with the different organizations and the departments when we're rolling out the parenting program and going all out in terms of making sure that we empower our parents. So there's the master trainer program that we are doing in all the provinces where we are training them and capacitating them so that they can reach out to their parents and also involved in their parenting program. So we also implement with the different stakeholders. We did a scoping study with UNICEF where we are identifying the parenting programs around the 9 provinces. So we had about 97 organizations that are providing parenting programs and they are focusing on different areas. So we need to work together in terms of making sure that we coordinate, and also when we are reaching out to our parents, we're making it in a one voice and we are able to work together as a team. So there are different organizations that are supporting in that work. The previous financial year, we were embarked on a project where we needed to reach out to 16,000 parents around the 9 provinces. So we were able to do that with UNICEF and implementing partner, which is NEGDA, and rolling out the program in the 9 provinces. So we needed to reach out to the parents to make sure that what we learn from them, what are the critical areas that we need to stimulate, and also to make sure that our parents are being involved. So it was done and we were able to reach out and look in terms of how we involve parents. And interestingly, in the program, we're looking at the role of fathers in terms of parenting. How do we get fathers involved? So we're able to get the males who were involved in the parenting program and forming part of our parenting trainings. And in this, we were able to reach out to about 45,973 children. So in terms of the parents who were coming, indicating that I'm taking care of 4 children, I'm taking care of 3 children or 1 child. That's how we look in terms of how do we access those children. We're talking about the issue around technology. How do we make sure that we involve our parents at their home environment, looking at the improvement, innovations around digital use, where we say that you take your phone and you look in terms of the parenting skills that you need to get into, where we have the ECD Mobi, and also we have the Play SA, that where we empower our practitioners and also those people who are working with children. So in terms of the provincial snapshot, we're able to reach out to 600 parents in the Mpumalanga province, but we're saying that this is the beginning. We need to see how we work together with the provinces and with the different organizations so that we are able to reach out to as many parents as possible in terms of our parenting program. So we're saying that we're having Banapili, and we're saying in behalf of the priority 1, we are appreciative in terms of supporting the Banapili process, in terms of the, registration of our ECD program, making sure that our children are being supported and they are stimulated in safe environment. And also we know every program that is providing services to children so that we are able to strengthen around the monitoring and also evaluation, the impact that we are making with regard to our children. So we are saying that our parents are very critical and important in this area also. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Papala, for the presentation. Colleagues, we are not doing well with time. Can I ask all the panel members just to come and take the seats in front here so that we try and save time? And again, may I request the presenters to try to summarize. I know the word summary does not exist in teachers' vocabulary, but let's try. Let's try to summarize and just to touch on the key issues about our practices and what we do. So in those ways, I'm going to allow Dr. Mutli to give us his presentation, who is the educational specialist in the ECD. Thank you.
A very good afternoon to the Honorable MEC, to the executive mayors, all political office bearers, the HOD, and all esteemed colleagues. Colleagues, I am deeply excited about our parenting programs. In my religion, our parents are our first gods. And you'll find that if we are able to empower our parents, you'll find that ECD will be on a positive trajectory, and as we depart from this earth, we will leave a rich legacy. We can do it, and we are going to do it. My presentation outline is going to focus on ECD research that has been conducted, both qualitative and quantitative. The research is a blend conducted in both urban, peri-urban, and rural areas, focusing on the ECD gaps, on the parental training that we are engaging in, and the ECDI mandate. The ECDI stands for the Early Childhood Development Institute, the first that we have in Mpumalanga, and that not only is going to be a game changer, but a sense of innovation where we're going to put ECD on the map on South Africa. ECD research. The research indicates that parents believe that the young children's early learning resides solely with ECD practitioners and center managers. Parents must not be psychologically detached from ECD centers and knowledge. Parents need to be part and parcel of ECD learning and knowledge. Parents are children's first educators, and the ECD practitioners at the centers and programs are loco parentis. They take the place of the parent. 80% of the brain development occurs before the age of 3. 42.6% of children are not accessing ECD. Therefore, if we are going to train the parents, you would find that they will be acquainted or familiar with early learning experiences that they can provide to their children at home. The gaps. As I said, many children are not accessing ECD services. That is 42.6%. Therefore, parents need to fill the lacuna or the gap. Parents require training and knowledge on play-based learning, nutrition, health, and registration requirements. Our training cannot be a one-size-fits-all. In Mpumalanga, our training is customized. It's tailor-made, and it is suited to the nuances on the ground. You would find that the parents are at the various developmental levels. When we are designing a program, our program is able to cater adequately for the urban, for the peri-urban, and the rural areas. And this training is not a one-week's training, but it's something that is systematic, it is periodic, and it is regularly updated and monitored. The training needs to be ongoing and given to parents in small bites. Our training is a blend. It's a hybrid of theory and practice. Theory occupies 25% and practice 75%. When we are training our parents, we also make them play and we also expose them to the play-based resources. Our training also is in the vernacular, although English is in the main, but you would find that the training is also in the various languages in the specific context. Also, we are using indigenous language in terms of storytelling. Parental support packs are also provided. Our training is multi-layered. What does that mean? We're not only training our parents, but we're also training our center managers how to interact with the parents. In our Early Childhood Development Institute in Boschlebela, the training module also caters for parental training so that there is a closer rapport and relationship between parents, between practitioners, and center managers. Our ECDI, Early Childhood Development Institute, as a pillar on parental awareness campaign. You'd find that if you were to look at those pillars, the ECD Institute will occupy the core in terms of training of our practitioners in level 4. We also have a data bank where all our data is uploaded, updated, and can be supplied at a regular basis. That informs our planning, also our budgetary processes. In terms of research, our research is ongoing. Our research is not esoteric, means it's not theoretical, but it is practical. It must add value. Also supported by monitoring and evaluation. Primary healthcare, we have a very close affinity with the Department of Health in terms of the road to health, in terms of stunting, and in terms of mass. You heard about kwashiorkor, where you have incidences of protein deficiency. In conclusion, trained parents result in better child developmental outcomes. It will assist in identifying developmental delays as per white paper number 6. You'd find that through the collaborative efforts of practitioners and parents, all children identified with developmental delays can be assisted at an early stage so that normal learning can take place once they enter grade 1. Thank you so much, colleagues.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mudl, for the wonderful presentation. Our next speaker will be Mr. Warren Farre, who is the CEO of Do More Foundation. And over to you, sir.
Great. Thank you for the opportunity. In essence of time, all protocols are observed. Today, I'm representing Do More Foundation as the CEO of the foundation, as well as representing business as an executive of RCL Foods. And for those of you who don't know, RCL Foods makes probably over 30 brands, Sun-Baked Bread being one of them. People in Bushbuckridge will know that brand. Salati Sugar, our factories, Nola Mayonnaise, Yum Yum Peanut Butter, amongst many other big brands. 7 years ago, we founded the Do More Foundation because we realized that the work that we're starting to do, and in fact starting to do in this province, in Umkamasi, we realized that this work we needed to scale. And the only way we could scale it was to partner and collaborate, because we were not going to get more money out of RCL Foods, because like with Sasol, businesses contribute a percentage net profit after tax to corporate social investment, and that amount of money wasn't going to change. So 7 years ago, 100%, to give you an example, 7 years ago, 100% of what we spent in community came from RCL Foods. Today, 14% of what we spend in community comes from RCL Foods, even though their contributions increased over the last 7 years. What that's meant is that we could partner and scale our work across the country. As a foundation, we have deep work in Umkamasi and more recently in Bushbuck Ridge, where we implement an innovative model called the Everyone Gets to Play model. There we go. As the name suggests, the idea is that everyone needs to participate. And when I mean everyone, I mean including parents. I hope also during my presentation, I'm a very kind of grounded person, and I use practical examples, and I'll get to those. So we have an MOU with National Department of Education because they see this model as contributing importantly to the implementation of the district part of the 2030 ECD strategy that Kalula presented. The model calls on all stakeholders, including parents, to be part of the vision that children thrive. Mpumalanga Department of Education, Lucy, can be very proud that this Everyone Gets to Play model has been running for over 10 years in Mpumalanga and was designed and developed in Umkamasi, and today is implemented in 6 provinces across our country. Today, we cover 80% of children in Umkamasi. We partner, for instance, with Penreach in Umkamasi. Today, we're working in Bushbuck Ridge with over 3,500 children. And in fact, yesterday, I was part of a collaboration of food companies that provided food to families in Bushbuck Ridge who, as some of you would have read in Daily Maverick, where families, the children are actually taking turns to eat. And so we have collaborated with a bunch of food companies to support those parents in that area. As part of our model, our foundation plays a backbone role, holding everyone and anyone that has anything to do with children to account. The model works from provincial level down, through district and to communities where we engage with parents. The foundation aims to implement the nurturing care framework that many of you will understand and know. Some things the foundation offers itself, others we partner and collaborate. Parenting, and as per the nurturing care framework that talks to responsive caregiving, is one of what we describe our basket of services. And so now to dig into just the parenting programs that we run. We run a Eat, Love, Play, Talk parenting program that's offered and run at community level, but what we've also done is offering that to the corporates, because of course corporates employ parents, and those parents live in those communities. The parenting program Eat, Love, Play, Talk takes simple nutrition messages, government nutrition messages, and makes those understandable for local context. We also run a Babonisa campaign that takes what was a soccer tournament, a soccer cup, and we use that to engage parents, at least fathers, with regards to their role in supporting young children. We have a Read and Play at Home program that is run through the ECD centers. We capacitate the ECD centers to then engage parents at centers. We have partnered with community radio stations sharing parenting messages. The innovativeness, because this is what this topic is about, of the programs comes in how we deliver our programs. So play is part of our culture in terms of our own organization. Why? Because children learn through play. And so everything that we do it in a very engaging and playful way, where people remember what's presented to them and what they discuss. The innovativeness comes in the way we partner and collaborate. Let's go one back. Our Read and Play at Home program, we partnered with Book Dash. Our Babonisa campaign, which partners with the Salati Sugar brands, also partners with Umkamasi FM, partners with Track, which is the roads construction company. We partner with the Department of Culture, Sports and Culture, and the Umkamasi municipality. the innovativeness of our work in terms of the Babonisa and taking soccer is that we took what was the Salati soccer tournament, and we used that opportunity to engage men in something that they love, but using it as an opportunity to talk about the critical role that they play in terms of engaging young children. And finally, our entire Everyone Gets to Play model that I showed you just now is innovative in itself. And parents are key to this model, as children don't exist in isolation. They exist within families, within households. And parents are critical to our children and their development. And for us, they are key stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you, Warren, for your presentation. We'll have our last presenter, who is Tulima Makwafadi from Penrich. Over to you, Tuli.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to be here today. So I'm standing in on behalf of Penrich today. As you can see, my name is Tulile Makofane, and I'm the ECD Program Director at Penrich. So I'm going to start with talking about our vision and mission. Our vision says education excellence for one and all South Africans, and Penrich has been in existence since 1994. Next. And the numbers that you see are our reach. We have multiple programs that we are running in ECD. I am going to delve deeper into the parenting programs, but I would like to just show you what other programs that we are doing. So we have the center-based program. Oh, sorry, next. We have the center-based program. So those are the numbers. We are reaching 190 ECD centers across Ehlanzeni. We also have parents, where we are reaching about 600 parents. We also have a play group program, which I heard someone talking about what are we doing with children who are unable to access early learning. So we are also running a play group program where we are in partnership with Smart Start. We also have a skills program where we are training ECD practitioners, around 500 of them are in Mpumalanga. I also want to mention that we are training NQF level 4, which is a minimum qualification that is required for practitioners to be teaching in an ECD center. So currently we have trained 375 practitioners in 2025. In terms of the work that we do in Mpumalanga and in other provinces, we are in Mpumalanga as well as in Limpopo, but I want to zoom in on in Mpumalanga. So we are doing coaching and mentoring. We have people or staff members that are going into the field on a daily basis to assist practitioners in the classroom. We also do skills development, as I mentioned earlier, and also parental involvement programs. In our parent involvement programs, there are certain activities that we are involved in. I want to delve deeper into that one. So in terms of parental involvement, our focus is mainly on creating awareness to parents about the importance of early learning, and also for them to be involved. That is very important for them to be involved in their children's education. We have programs where we are visiting parents in homes, where some of our staff members as well as volunteers are visiting to have activity cards, and they share that with the parents so that parents can start playing with their children at home. We all know that charity begins at home. So if a child sees that a parent plays with them, they then start playing in turn. And we believe very strongly that children learn through play. So by starting to play with their own parents, then they'll take it very seriously that play is important. And when they go to an ECD center, when they are playing, they understand the importance of play. We also have a program where we are doing toy libraries. We are in multiple areas or in multiple districts where these toy libraries are set. These toy libraries are run by volunteers, and these volunteers are the parents themselves. Again, to emphasize the fact that it is important to be involved in your child's education. We have instances where parents come to these toy libraries to lend toys so that they can go and play with their children at home. Again, we also have activity days where they come to the toy library, not just to lend toys or play with their children, but also to make toys from scrap. Because as you are all aware, ladies and gentlemen, access to toys is one of the challenges that we are facing as the ECD sector. You go to an ECD center or a play group, you find that everything is there except that there are no toys, which are a major resource for the children to use in terms of learning. Again, we also do nutrition, and we are in partnership with Dumo Foundation. So not just ensuring that children have got one meal a day. We are talking about sustainability. So we're bringing in parents to assist in establishing gardens for the ECD centers. We do not just say this is a garden, start tending to it. We train parents on how to start the garden and also using what they have around them so that they can be able to produce food to supplement what they are getting in an ECD center. One of the challenges that was cited earlier by the gentleman was that parents are unable to pay for the school fees of their children. So with that, we are saying when they are having a school garden, they are able to supplement the food and also try and use the finances for other things that they might otherwise use in the classroom. In our parental program, we also run workshops for parents specifically to talk about the psychosocial part, because parents are parents. They also face a lot of challenges, and they are never given a space to come and talk about the challenges that they are facing in raising the children. So as Penridge, we provide that platform for parents to assist each other in a way of communities of practice. So parents come together and they have a session where they are sharing their insights as to how they are able to conquer some of the challenges that they are facing. And the other parents are getting information from there. And then we also provide books when we are doing home visits. One of the things that we do is to provide books for parents so that they can be able to read for their children. I'm sure as we are all sitting here, we are aware that our children are unable to read with understanding when they are in grade 3. So with the provision of books, Penridge is trying to ensure that every child has got a book at home and they are exposed to reading material. So parents are given books to read for their children. We are in partnership with an organization called Bridge to School, where they are giving a book to each parent and they are able to exchange the book when they are done reading with their children. Another avenue where we are involving parents is our signature event, which we call Play Day. Each year we celebrate a Play Day. We have been celebrating it at Mbombela Stadium in the past years. So this year we are still going to celebrate it, but in that event, we invite parents to come and play with their children. We invite parents to participate in their children's activities. We invite parents to come and facilitate some of the activities that we have put out so that children can be involved in play. If we are to ensure that our children are actually meeting the developmental milestones, parents are very, very important in playing that role as a parent. They are the primary teachers of the children. So if they do not understand their involvement in the early education, That is where we find that children parents take the children to the school and hoping that the teacher will take care of everything that the teacher is supposed to do. So where do we do all of this? It's just a snapshot to show we are in the different districts. We are in Kangala, we are in Gartsibande, we are also at Ehlanzeni. One of the speakers spoke about collaboration. As Penrich, we believe very, very strongly that collaboration is important. You can't do everything alone. You need partners to work with you. Hence, as an organization, we are not working alone. We've got our partners that we are working with, and those are the partners that we are working with. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Ms. Makofani. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to open the floor for a few questions. We are already behind the scheduled time. I'm going to take about 5 questions, and then we'll see how we do with time. I was given up to at least 1:45, if we can close this session. Maybe before I open the floor, I've got one question that any of the panel can answer. All the presentation, they talk to the importance of working together, teacher-parent relation. How important is that? However, what I'm missing is if you can just share a few of the challenges that you experience when you have to bring parents on board, and how do you go about to try to close that gap or to resolve that challenge. With those words, I'm going to open the floor for at least 5 questions, and then we will take it from there. You are number 1, and then you'll be number 2. So we only have 2. Okay, number 3. Okay, do you have anything this side? Okay, number 4. The last one this side. Can I go back that side? There was a hand there. Okay, you've got 4. Can we start with number 1? Can you assist with the mics, please?
It's afternoon. Good afternoon. I'll be very brief. A rather controversial question to ask. I am Masilela Vincent from Naptosa Provincial Office, Mpumalanga to be specific. Child-headed households panel. Bearing in mind that this often arises due to the absence of or incapacity of an adult, and also due to death. The responsibilities of these children is in the domain of a parent. So I did not hear Mrs. Mpho's research talking to parents, and to anticipate, perhaps her response will be saying, we did not find child-headed households. So perhaps they can appraise us on the contingency plan to actually accommodate these children or deemed parents in terms of our statutory laws. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Sestembing Kadimeng. I am the member of Mpumalanga ECD Forum. We all know that in South Africa we have a problem of teenage pregnancy. And those teenagers, after giving birth, they become parents, teenage parents. And most of them, they are single parenting, which is a serious challenge in South Africa, and it has a serious impact on their mental health. So my question is, another thing is these children, they are not ready to be parents. That's number 1. They just found themselves being parents or being called parents. They don't even understand. And number two, they are children themselves. They are being parented, you know, and they live under the rules of their parents. So my question is, how is the panel or the Department of Education supporting and empowering these teenage parents or teen parents to actively participate in their children's early learning and development, particularly in communities where I'm coming from, where literacy and educational resources are limited? And as the sector, we are finding it so difficult to work with those parents, but we really need to service them because they're there. And when you check in the early childhood development, 80% of parents that we have in our ECD centers are teen parents. They bring children in the morning wearing school uniform, then they go to school. Then after school, they will come and take those children. And we as ECD sector, we expect them to play their full role of being parents. Thank you.
Thank you. Igama lami ngingusombu waka Zacharias ngiphuma lapha eHartsibande district ngise sub district lapha eLikwa. Mhlambe ngaqala welcome all the presentation that was done by our presenters, but ke ngizo mixta isiZulu nesingisi ukuze nje ngikhulume ngamabomu nje. Ngilapha ke ku province ku forum ngiwu deputy secretary kodwa ke eGert lapha ku sub district eLikwa la ngikhona ngiwu chairperson waleyo sub district eLikwa kwa ECD. Angicale nje ngobhuti lapha uWarren presentation yakhe ukhulume ngokuthi anything to do with children bona bayangenelela. Muhle umsebenzi, that is a good work and is welcome to us ama ECDs. What I've heard ubhuti Warren mention ukuthi mhlambe babhizi enkomazi kanye nasebush. Mina I will stand to say even in Hartsibande, Bhuti Warren, you are welcome to bring the good things that you have done in Komanzi nase bush. Yeah, you are welcome, Bhuti. Come to Egert. We are waiting for you because this is nice. It's good, it's nice. So what you are doing. So not you are waiting for it. Really, because we're in need of these things as ECDs. Especially when we're talking about bringing everything that is supposed to benefit the children, the child there. Hey, we are in need of that. Kakulu. Especially when you bring food, the grocer. Hey, that one is pashasha good. Because food outside there is very expensive. The subsidy that we get sometimes is very little to us as ECD to continue buying food as per the balanced meal per a dietitian. So once you come in, you said, even maybe you said, I'm not giving you money, but the grocer every month just adopt us. Buying us food in the whole province, in all districts, adopt us. Sibe ngabantwana benu do more, baba, huh? Oh, Baba Omodli, Bano Sesumpo, Bona, I can just combine their presentation to say, it's also welcomed. Both of them, they were talking about parental involvement training. Hey, that one is is huge and large and big, angazi nje imamagama amakhulu nje. Kahle kahle, and is needed. Because we, as center managers in our centers, we can say we're doing a parental an education or a training in our parents' meeting. But in a parents' meeting, you can't say you did say something and you did educate the parents. But you guys, the initiatives are we do welcome the initiative, but ngizwe kahle ukuthi nithi izoba continuously so. Even uba umuntu uthe angeke kube yeviki kodwa izoba continuously so. Bekufanele ukuthi mina I was thinking ukuthi maybe mhlambe this coming quarter this thing can start puju so that the parents can come in vele sadinga ukuthi babe educated. Nokuthi when they are educated, our parents, really the department supposed to give them value. When they talk with the parents, they must know that those are parents. But mhlambe leyo udaba longelanga elizawulandela so that we can just be open and say something that we want to say. Because sometimes here in the summit, you can say everything, but the things is better when you talk, you know. Okay. Thank you very much. Gunins. Thank you.
Can we have the last question, and in brief, please, straight to the point? That was the last question, number 4.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Prof. Welcome again, the presenters and the presentations that have been given. But on the last presenter, when we deal with the matters of toys, because we must be very careful, it should not be just a dumpling place of these toys. Because some of these toys that need to be donated to this kid, they must be having a cognitive development in a child. So maybe if to check if they are having a specification of that kind of toys to say, these are toys that are going to be required in order to develop that particular child, not to be a dumping site on that particular area. And it assists us also as executive mayors, because when we plan to go out on your early reopening of schools, we do have planning on what kind of or issues like your shoes and whatever, but we did not plan around the issues of tools, the toys that should be submitted to the ECTs. But I just want to find out the specific, because we don't want just to pick up any toy and just go and dump into that center. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all the questions. I'm going to hand over to the panel members to respond to the question. Please try to be in brief in your response.
I'll take the first one, which is around how do you involve parents, and I'll keep it quite quick. I mean, it is a challenge, right? I think for us, it's about keeping whatever you're delivering to parents fun and engaging, and that parents get value out of it. If you look at the Eat, Love, Play, Talk program, which I explained, that program is run over 7 months. In month 7, we have a 90% attendance rate. You might ask, how do we do it? So obviously we give parents tools, incentives, but like the lovely lady over there said, everyone wants food. We also incentivize with food. And so, yeah, there are ways, we came under some criticism in terms of incentivizing parents to do that. But our logic to doing that is to say, and by the way, that food is just a bag of porridge, do more porridge. Our logic for doing that is to say we really want the parents to receive the messages around health and nutrition. That kind of answers that. A shout out, by the way, tomorrow we are opening a classroom in Bushbuck-Ridge, which we partnered with Breadline. Breadline's in the room. And we partnered with Breadline. So just another thing that we are doing in this province this week.
Thank you so much for the questions. I'll take the one around the child-headed household in terms of the children taking care of their siblings and other children as they are children themselves, and also in terms of the teenage pregnancy, how do we involve our teenage mothers and fathers in terms of stimulation. So when we look in terms of our healthy family relationship, That's where we come in to look at the different structures that we're having as families, as different families, because we know that we do have different structures in terms of our family establishment. So in terms of the child-headed household, as we mentioned, that it's like the children, they don't have a choice. They need to look after their siblings, and they are the ones who should look after that. That's where we bring in terms of the support around the family structure, and also in terms of the community to assist and support those children. So we do have like peer mentor program where we train our peer mentors who will be working together also with our teenage mothers and fathers, so that they engage and also to empower them around the stimulation of our children. We know that they need support and they need to continue to be the parents as they are children. But we do have program when we look into our family relationship that we are able to involve them and also stimulate. And we'll be working together as different sections in the department where we're looking in terms of how do we empower those teenagers in terms of their parenting program. So that's the other area that we're looking into in terms of strengthening, and also the impact in terms of their mental well-being, where we look in terms of where they are and also are they able to take the pressure in terms of raising their children. We know that sometimes as a teenage mother, the grandparents will take over, and as you raise a child, the child will identify the grandparent as their mother. But we also need to emphasize that they take a role in terms of being the parents to those children. So those are the other areas that we're looking into when we go around in terms of our parenting program. And also to make it interesting in terms of taking their roles and responsibilities, playing with the children, and also in terms of the parents taking care of those children, because they still need care, they still need their parents, but also they are parents. So the support that we are providing as different stakeholders and as different departments to support the child-headed household, we do identify those and we do find those in our parenting program.
Thank you. I want to respond to the question about the toys, as to what kind of toys should be, can we maybe talk about now to say these are the toys that can be donated to ECD centers as well as toy libraries. We, as I mentioned earlier, that we ask parents to collect waste so that they can make toys out of that. However, it is not sustainable because those toys after 3 months, they are gone. So we are really looking for toys that are strong, durable, and can be used over and over without breaking. Some of the examples could be your Legos, your puzzles, your balls, your bin bags, and so forth. They are called educational toys. So if you need a list, we can actually provide. Ladies and gentlemen, I must say that is my former teacher that is asking me that question.
Do you want to answer anything? I think, colleagues, we thank all the audience for asking questions that are of highly significant. In terms of the teenage pregnancy, we acknowledge the gap. The department in its registration process also able to target high schools and be able to provide those young mothers with information. But it's something that we need to strengthen so that we have a greater impact. Thank you.
Okay, colleagues, we'll allow the conversation to continue during lunchtime. Please feel free to join any of the panel members if you still have some burning issues. Let me thank all the presenters for the wonderful presentation and the response of all the questions. And let me also thank the audience for your engagement and your contribution. It's really appreciated. I'll hand it over to the chairperson to wrap up.
Thank you so much. Can we give the panel a very big round of applause? Yeah, I can. This is very interesting, MEC. A very, very interesting session. And I think all of us can reflect on our parenting skills or also the gaps that we had. I wish I could actually be born afresh, both to go to an ECD center. My daughter asked me, Mama, which ECD center did you go to? I wasn't sure what to say. because these things were not there during our time. So it is a very important period that we're finding ourselves in. Thank you to the panel. I said let's give them a very big round of applause. And I'm just going to wrap this session. We will have at the end closing remarks and what we're picking up here, because there's a lot of important information definitely that would inform the resolutions by our ministers later on. Just to remind you of the QR code, there are 2 QR codes. There's one for registration, for attendance register, and there's one for your questions, your comments, and your input. You don't have to ask a question, but you can make a proposal that please consider this, so that ultimately when the ministers meet at the Ministers' Summit, your voice is heard. So thank you so much. We are going to break for lunch now. I just need to direct us to the correct places. Next door here, just next door, I think it's called Imvubu. Lunch will be served for about 200 delegates. There are 450 of us. And so 200 will go into this one. Then the difference will then go to the restaurant, the lower level of the restaurant. The lower level of the restaurant. And our principals will then go to the upper level of the